can't see a thing. Help me.
April 15th, 2022, and senior flight attendant Jessica Walsh is 8 months pregnant, working her final flight before maternity leave, when both pilots of Flight 278 collapsed from severe food poisoning, leaving 192 passengers with no one to fly the aircraft. But this expectant mother, who should be resting at home, is about to prove that maternal instinct and 15 years of aviation experience can overcome any obstacle when lives are on the line. What happened next will show you that heroes come in all forms, and that sometimes protecting your unborn child means saving everyone else first. Stay until the end, because this story will redefine what courage looks like when everything seems impossible. Jessica Walsh adjusted her maternity uniform one final time as she prepared for what would be her last flight as a senior flight attendant before beginning maternity leave. At 8 months pregnant, she had been cleared by her doctor to work until her due date, but Pacific Airways had scheduled this flight from Los Angeles to Denver as her farewell assignment before she took time off to prepare for her first child. The Boeing 757-200, operating as Flight 278, was scheduled to depart LAX at 2:30 p.m. on what meteorologists had predicted would be a clear afternoon with smooth flying conditions perfect for Jessica's final day of work. After 15 years with the airline, she had requested this shorter domestic route specifically because it would be less physically demanding than the international flights she normally worked. Captain Michael Torres and First Officer Amanda Chen were experienced pilots who had worked with Jessica on numerous previous flights and were aware that this was her last assignment before maternity leave. They had planned to make it a special occasion with a small celebration for Jessica after they reached Denver, but their plans would be dramatically altered by events none of them could have anticipated. Jessica's pregnancy had progressed normally, and she felt physically capable of handling the flight. Despite her advanced stage, her doctor had assured her that air travel was safe and that her experience and training would help her manage any physical discomfort during the 3-hour flight. She was excited about becoming a mother, but also sad to be temporarily leaving the career she loved. The passenger manifest included 192 travelers, ranging from business people to families with children. Among them was Dr. Robert Martinez, an emergency room physician returning home to Denver after a medical conference in Los Angeles. His presence would prove crucial during the events that were about to unfold, though none of them knew it at the time. Jessica's fellow flight attendants, Sarah Kim and David Rodriguez, were prepared to handle most of the physical duties during the flight, allowing Jessica to focus on passenger service and supervising the cabin crew. This arrangement had worked well during her previous flights in recent weeks, and everyone was comfortable with the modified responsibilities. The pre-flight preparation proceeded normally, as Jessica conducted her safety equipment checks, while her colleagues prepared the cabin for boarding. Her 15 years of experience had given her an intuitive understanding of aircraft systems and passenger management that made her one of Pacific Airways' most valued senior crew members. Captain Torres and First Officer Chen completed their cockpit preparation and were pleased with the weather forecast and aircraft condition. They had eaten lunch together at the airport restaurant before the flight, discussing their plans for Jessica's farewell celebration and looking forward to a routine flight to Denver. The boarding process went smoothly as Jessica greeted passengers with her characteristic warmth and professionalism, while discreetly managing the physical demands of her pregnancy. Several regular travelers recognized her and expressed well wishes for her upcoming motherhood, which touched her deeply. At 2:35 p.m., Flight 278 pushed back from Gate 12 and began taxiing toward runway 25L for takeoff. Jessica felt her baby moving actively as the aircraft prepared for departure and took it as a good sign that her child was healthy and strong. She had no idea that in just 2 hours this flight would test every skill she had learned during her aviation career. The takeoff from Los Angeles was smooth and uneventful, As the Boeing 757 climbed through the afternoon sky toward their cruising altitude of 37,000 feet, Jessica moved carefully through the cabin during the initial climb, helping passengers with their carry-on items and answering questions about the flight. 45 minutes into the flight, Jessica was serving beverages in the first-class cabin when she heard Captain Torres call over the interphone, complaining of sudden nausea and stomach pain. She immediately prepared some antacid medication and brought it to the cockpit, where she found both pilots looking pale and uncomfortable. First Officer Chen was also experiencing severe stomach cramps and nausea that seemed to be getting worse by the minute. Both pilots had eaten the same meal at the airport restaurant before the flight and were now showing classic symptoms of food poisoning that was progressing much more rapidly than normal cases. Jessica's maternal instincts kicked in as she assessed the pilots' condition and realized they were both becoming seriously ill. Her 15 years of flight experience had included several medical emergencies, but never one involving both pilots simultaneously. She knew this situation could quickly become life-threatening for everyone aboard. Within 30 minutes, both pilots were too sick to continue their duties, as the food poisoning caused severe vomiting and weakness that made it impossible for them to safely operate the aircraft. Jessica found herself facing an unprecedented emergency as the person with the most aviation knowledge among the conscious crew members. The aircraft continued flying on autopilot at cruising altitude, but Jessica knew from her training that someone would eventually need to take manual control, especially for descent and landing procedures. Her pregnancy added an extra dimension of complexity to an already impossible situation, as she felt her baby responding to her elevated stress levels. Dr. Martinez identified himself when Jessica announced the medical emergency and immediately began treating the incapacitated pilots while confirming that they were suffering from severe food poisoning that would prevent them from resuming their duties for several hours. This meant Jessica would need to find another solution for landing the aircraft safely. Jessica's mind raced as she considered their options, while also dealing with the physical and emotional stress of her pregnancy. She had observed countless takeoffs and landings during her career and had received basic training in aircraft systems, but had never imagined she would need to use this knowledge to actually fly an airplane. The realization that 192 passengers, plus her unborn child, were depending on her to find a solution created both overwhelming pressure and incredible determination, as Jessica's protective maternal instincts merged with her professional training to prepare her for what would be the greatest challenge of her aviation career. Jessica Walsh's transformation from pregnant flight attendant to emergency aircraft commander began with her methodical assessment of their situation, as she realized that her 15 years of aviation experience, combined with her fierce maternal protective instincts, would need to overcome the seemingly impossible challenge of landing a Boeing 757 with no pilot training whatsoever. The first priority was establishing communication with air traffic control to declare an emergency and request immediate assistance. Jessica's hands shook slightly as she used the cockpit radio equipment she had observed pilots operate thousands of times, but had never used herself. Her pregnancy made every movement more deliberate but also more determined. Air traffic controller David Kim at Los Angeles Center responded immediately to Jessica's emergency call and was initially stunned to learn that a pregnant flight attendant was now effectively in command of Flight 278. He quickly began coordinating with supervisors and technical experts to provide whatever guidance possible for this unprecedented situation. Jessica felt her baby moving actively as her stress levels increased, but she drew strength from the knowledge that she was fighting for both her unborn child's life and the lives of 191 other passengers who were now completely dependent on her ability to learn aircraft operations in real time while managing a high-risk pregnancy. Dr. Martinez continued treating the incapacitated pilots while also monitoring Jessica's condition to ensure that the stress and physical demands didn't trigger premature labor. His medical expertise became crucial, not just for the pilots, but for helping Jessica maintain her health during what would be an extremely demanding ordeal. The other flight attendants, Sarah Kim and David Rodriguez, took over all cabin duties, allowing Jessica to focus entirely on learning how to operate the aircraft. With guidance from air traffic control and airline technical experts who were being rushed to the control center to provide specialized assistance. Jessica's observational skills from 15 years of flying proved invaluable, as she had unconsciously absorbed knowledge about aircraft systems, procedures, and pilot behavior that now became the foundation for her emergency education in actually flying the Boeing 757. Her pregnancy had heightened her attention to detail and safety awareness. The autopilot system continued maintaining their altitude and heading, but Jessica knew she would eventually need to program course changes and descent procedures that required understanding complex aircraft systems she had only observed from a distance. Her determination to protect her unborn child motivated her to master these skills quickly. Air traffic control began providing step-by-step instructions for basic aircraft operations, while simultaneously coordinating with Pacific Airways maintenance and training departments to ensure Jessica received the most accurate and helpful guidance possible. Every expert available was being mobilized to support her unprecedented situation. Jessica's maternal instincts created an unexpected advantage, as her heightened awareness and protective reflexes made her extremely cautious and methodical in following instructions. She double-checked every input and asked for clarification whenever anything seemed unclear, because she understood that mistakes could be fatal. The physical demands of pregnancy added complexity to her situation, as she had to manage fatigue, nausea, and the awkward positioning required to operate cockpit controls while 8 months pregnant. But her determination to save her baby and all the passengers kept her focused despite these challenges. Flight attendant Sarah Kim coordinated passenger management while keeping everyone calm and informed about their situation. The passengers were remarkably cooperative once they understood that Jessica was working heroically to save everyone, despite being in an advanced stage of pregnancy herself. Dr. Martinez positioned himself where he could monitor both Jessica's condition and the recovering pilots, while also preparing for potential medical emergencies that might arise during what would certainly be a challenging landing attempt. His presence provided crucial medical backup during the crisis. Jessica began practicing basic aircraft control inputs with guidance from air traffic control, starting with simple heading and altitude changes that allowed her to develop confidence and familiarity with the Boeing 757's flight controls. Her careful approach reflected both her aviation training and her maternal caution. The airline's chief pilot, Captain Susan Rodriguez, was rushed to the control center to provide direct guidance to Jessica through radio communication. Her experience with emergency training and aircraft systems made her the ideal instructor for this impossible situation. She was amazed by Jessica's composure and quick learning. Jessica's pregnancy hormones had enhanced her focus and determination, while her maternal protective instincts created an emotional state perfectly suited for the extreme concentration required to learn aircraft operations under pressure. She was literally fighting for 2 lives, which gave her extraordinary motivation. The passengers gradually became aware of Jessica's heroic efforts, and many began offering prayers and encouragement as they realized this brave woman was risking her own health and her baby's welfare to save everyone aboard the aircraft. Their support provided additional emotional strength during her most challenging moments. Air traffic control cleared all other aircraft from Flight 278's vicinity and began coordinating with Denver International Airport to prepare for an emergency landing that would test Jessica's newly acquired flying skills. Emergency vehicles and medical personnel were being positioned for immediate response. Jessica felt her baby responding to her elevated heart rate and stress hormones, but drew comfort from the active movement which indicated her child was healthy and strong. She spoke quietly to her unborn baby while working through aircraft procedures, promising that they would both survive this ordeal together. The technical complexity of aircraft systems that normally required years of training to master was being compressed into hours of intensive instruction as Jessica absorbed information at an unprecedented rate, driven by necessity and maternal determination that made failure impossible to contemplate. Captain Rodriguez's voice guidance became Jessica's lifeline as she learned to interpret aircraft instruments and manage complex systems while dealing with the physical limitations and emotional intensity of being 8 months pregnant. Their coordination represented an extraordinary partnership between two women facing an impossible challenge. Jessica's 15 years of observing professional pilots had given her an intuitive understanding of crew coordination and decision-making processes that now served her well as she assumed command responsibilities she had never imagined needing. Her experience provided the foundation for rapid skill development under extreme pressure.
The final approach to Denver International Airport represented the ultimate test of Jessica Walsh's courage, determination, and rapidly acquired flying skills, as she prepared to attempt landing a Boeing 757, while 8 months pregnant, with the lives of 192 passengers, plus her unborn child, depending entirely on her ability to execute procedures under the most stressful circumstances imaginable. Captain Susan Rodriguez's voice guidance became increasingly detailed and supportive as they approached the critical landing phase, providing Jessica with step-by-step instructions while also offering the emotional encouragement needed to maintain confidence during such an overwhelming challenge. Their partnership across radio frequencies represented one of the most remarkable examples of remote flight instruction in aviation history. Jessica felt her baby moving continuously as her body responded to the intense stress and physical demands of operating aircraft controls, while managing the awkward positioning required by her advanced pregnancy. She drew strength from her child's active movement, interpreting it as a sign that they would both survive this incredible ordeal together. Air traffic control cleared Denver International Airport of all other traffic and positioned emergency vehicles along runway 16R, while medical teams prepared for immediate response to both potential crash injuries and the possibility that Jessica might go into premature labor due to the extreme stress of her emergency landing attempt. Dr. Martinez monitored Jessica's vital signs and physical condition, while also staying ready to assist with any medical emergencies that might arise during landing. His presence provided crucial reassurance that both she and her baby would receive immediate medical care, regardless of how the landing proceeded. The descent phase required Jessica to make precise altitude and airspeed adjustments, while learning to coordinate multiple aircraft systems. Simultaneously, her maternal protective instincts created an heightened state of awareness that helped her process complex technical information while maintaining the caution necessary to avoid dangerous mistakes. Flight attendants Sarah Kim and David Rodriguez prepared the cabin for emergency landing procedures, while keeping passengers informed about Jessica's heroic efforts. The entire cabin was filled with prayers and positive energy as everyone realized they were witnessing an extraordinary demonstration of courage and maternal determination. Jessica's pregnancy had enhanced her natural caution and attention to detail, making her an ideal student for the compressed flight training she was receiving. She asked clarifying questions about every procedure and repeated instructions back to confirm her understanding, because she knew that mistakes could be fatal for everyone, including her unborn child. The Boeing 757 responded normally to Jessica's control inputs as she followed Captain Rodriguez's guidance through the approach procedures. Her 15 years of observing professional pilots had given her an intuitive sense of how aircraft should behave during normal operations, which helped her recognize when her inputs were producing the correct responses. Captain Torres and First Officer Chen remained incapacitated by food poisoning, but were conscious enough to observe Jessica's remarkable performance with amazement and gratitude. They later said her calm professionalism and determination reminded them why she had been one of their favorite flight attendants during their years of working together. The final approach required the most precise coordination yet, as Jessica had to manage airspeed, altitude, and aircraft configuration while following a specific glide path toward the runway. Her maternal instincts helped her remain methodical and careful, while also providing the emotional strength needed to attempt something far beyond her training. Emergency responders positioned along the runway watched in amazement as Flight 278 maintained a stable approach profile that appeared remarkably professional, considering it was being flown by someone with no pilot training. Jessica's natural caution and careful attention to instructions were producing results that exceeded everyone's expectations. Jessica spoke quietly to her unborn baby during the final minutes before touchdown, promising that they would soon be safely on the ground, and that this incredible experience would become part of their family story. Her maternal bond provided emotional strength that helped her maintain focus despite overwhelming pressure. The touchdown occurred at 6:47 p.m. Mountain Time, as Jessica successfully brought Flight 278 to the runway following Captain Rodriguez's precise guidance. The landing was harder than normal, but well within safe parameters, as the aircraft rolled out and came to a complete stop with emergency vehicles immediately surrounding them. The immediate aftermath saw Jessica overcome with emotion as she realized she had successfully saved everyone aboard, including her unborn child. Paramedics immediately boarded the aircraft to check her condition and provide medical support, while passengers erupted in applause and tears of gratitude. Dr. Martinez confirmed that both Jessica and her baby had tolerated the stress remarkably well, with no signs of premature labor or other complications. Her excellent physical condition and strong maternal determination had carried her through an ordeal that would have challenged anyone regardless of pregnancy status. Captain Torres and First Officer Chun recovered sufficiently to express their profound gratitude to Jessica, whose heroic actions had saved their lives along with everyone else aboard. Flight 278, they credited her quick thinking, calm professionalism, and incredible courage with preventing what could have been a catastrophic tragedy. The passengers organized a spontaneous celebration honoring Jessica's heroism, while also marveling at what she had accomplished while carrying her unborn child. Many said her example of maternal courage and determination would inspire them for the rest of their lives. Pacific Airways immediately recognized Jessica as a company hero, while also ensuring she received the best possible medical care and support for the remainder of her pregnancy. Her story became legendary within the aviation industry as an example of extraordinary courage under impossible circumstances. Jessica's daughter, Emma, was born healthy and strong 6 weeks later, with the amazing story of how her mother had saved 192 lives. While pregnant, becoming part of family legend, Jessica often told Emma that she had been her co-pilot during the most important flight of their lives. Today, Jessica Walsh works as a flight training instructor, specializing in emergency procedures, while also serving as an advocate for pregnant women in aviation careers. Her experience demonstrated that determination and protective instincts can overcome seemingly impossible obstacles when lives are at stake. Jessica Walsh's incredible story proves that maternal instinct, combined with professional experience, can create superhuman strength, and that protecting the ones we love most can motivate us to accomplish things we never thought possible. Her willingness to risk her own health and her baby's welfare to save 192 passengers demonstrates the extraordinary courage that emerges when ordinary people face impossible circumstances and refuse to give up. But I want to hear from you. What do you think gave Jessica the strength to attempt something so far beyond her training and experience? Was it her 15 years of aviation knowledge, her maternal protective instincts, or something deeper about human nature that emerges when we're fighting for the lives of others? Have you ever found yourself capable of things you didn't know you could do when someone you loved was in danger? Do you think becoming a parent changes our capacity for courage and sacrifice in ways we couldn't imagine until we experience it ourselves? Share your thoughts about parental courage and the incredible things people do to protect their families in the comments below, and let me know if Jessica's story inspires you to think differently about what is possible when we re-motivated by love. Do you and forget to subscribe for more amazing stories that prove ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they fighting for the people they love most. And hit that notification bell so you never miss these incredible tales that show us what we truly capable of when everything we care about is on the line.